The middle way. To those who choose the path that leads to enlightenment, there are two extremes that should be carefully avoided. First, there is the extreme of indulgence in the desires of the body. Second, there is the opposite extreme of ascetic discipline, torturing one's body and mind unreasonably. The noble path that transcends these two extremes and leads to enlightenment and wisdom and peace of mind may be called the middle way. What is the middle way? It consists of the eightfold noble path: right view, right thought, right speech, right behavior, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. As has been said, all things appear or disappear by reason of an endless series of causes. Ignorant people see life as either existence or non-existence, but wise men see beyond both existence and non-existence something that transcends them both. This is an observation of the middle way. Suppose a log is floating in a river. If the log does not become grounded or sink, or is not taken out by a man, or does not decay, ultimately it will reach the sea. Life is like this log caught in the current of a great river. If a person does not become attached to a life of self-indulgence, or by renouncing life, does not become attached to a life of self-torture, if a person does not become proud of his virtues, or does not become attached to his evil acts, if in his search for enlightenment, he does not become contemptuous of delusion, nor fear it, such a person is following the middle way. The important thing in following the path to enlightenment is to avoid being caught and entangled in any extreme, that is, always to follow the middle way. Knowing that things neither exist nor do not exist, remembering the dreamlike nature of everything, one should avoid being caught by pride of personality or praise for good deeds, or caught and entangled by anything else. If a person is to avoid being caught in the current of his desires, he must learn at the very beginning not to grasp at things lest he should become accustomed to them and attached to them. He must not become attached to existence, nor to non-existence, to anything inside or outside, neither to good things nor to bad things, neither to right nor to wrong. If he becomes attached to things just at that moment, all at once, the life of delusion begins. The one who follows the noble path to enlightenment will not maintain regrets, neither will he cherish anticipations, but with an equitable and peaceful mind will meet what comes. Enlightenment has no definite form or nature by which it can manifest itself. So in enlightenment itself, there is nothing to be enlightened. Enlightenment exists solely because of delusion and ignorance. If they disappear, so will enlightenment. And the opposite is true also. There is no enlightenment apart from delusion and ignorance. No delusion and ignorance apart from enlightenment. Therefore, be on guard against thinking of enlightenment as a thing to be grasped at, lest it too should become an obstruction. When the mind that was in darkness becomes enlightened, it passes away, and with its passing, the thing which we call enlightenment passes also. As long as people desire enlightenment and grasp at it, it means that delusion is still with them. Therefore, those who are following the way to enlightenment must not grasp at it, and if they reach enlightenment, they must not linger in it. When people attain enlightenment in this sense, it means that everything is enlightenment itself as it is. Therefore, people should follow the path to enlightenment until in their thoughts, worldly passions and enlightenment become identical as they are. This concept of universal oneness, that things in their essential nature have no distinguishing marks, is called sunyata. Sunyata means non-substantiality, the unborn, having no self-nature, no duality. It is because things in themselves have no form or characteristics that we can speak of them as neither being born nor being destroyed. There is nothing about the essential nature of things that can be described in terms of discrimination. That is why things are called non-substantial. As has been pointed out, all things appear and disappear because of causes and conditions. Nothing ever exists entirely alone. Everything is in relation to everything else. Wherever there is light, there is shadow. Wherever there is length, there is shortness. Wherever there is white, there is black. Just like these, as the self-nature of things cannot exist alone, they are called non-substantial. By the same reasoning, enlightenment cannot exist apart from ignorance, nor ignorance apart from enlightenment. Since things do not differ in their essential nature, there can be no duality. People habitually think of themselves as being connected with birth and death, but in reality, there are no such conceptions. When people are able to realize this truth, they have realized the truth of the non-duality of birth and death. It is because people cherish the idea of an ego personality that they cling to the idea of possession. But since there is no such thing as an ego, there can be no such things as possessions. When people are able to realize this truth, they will be able to realize the truth of non-duality. But in the nature of things, there is no such distinction, except as it rises from false and absurd images in their mind. In like manner, people make a distinction between good and evil, but good and evil do not exist separately. Those who are following the path to enlightenment recognize no such duality, and it leads them to neither praise the good and condemn the evil, nor despise the good and condone the evil. People naturally fear misfortune and long for good fortune, but if the distinction is carefully studied, misfortune often turns out to be good fortune and good fortune to be misfortune. The wise man learns to meet the changing circumstances of life with an equitable spirit, being neither elated by success nor depressed by failure. Thus one realizes the truth of non-duality. Therefore, all the words that express relations of duality, such as existence and non-existence, worldly passions and true knowledge, purity and impurity, good and evil, none of these terms of contrast in one's thinking are expressed or recognized in their true nature. When people keep free from such terms and from the emotions engendered by them, they realize sunyata's universal truth. Just as the pure and fragrant lotus flower grows out of the mud of a swamp rather than out of the clean loam of an upland field, so from the muck of worldly passions springs the pure enlightenment of Buddhahood. Even the mistaken views of heretics and the delusions of worldly passions may be the seeds for Buddhahood. If a diver is to secure pearls, he must descend to the bottom of the sea, braving all dangers of jagged coral and vicious sharks. So man must face the perils of worldly passion if he is to secure the precious pearl of enlightenment. He must first be lost among the mountainous crags of egoism and selfishness, before there will awaken in him the desire to find a path that will lead him to enlightenment. There is a legend of a hermit who had such a great desire to find the true path that he climbed a mountain of swords and threw himself into fire, enduring them because of his hope. He who is willing to risk the perils of the path will find a cool breeze blowing on the sword-bristling mountains of selfishness and among the fires of hatred, and in the end will come to realize that the selfishness and worldly passions against which he has struggled and suffered are enlightenment itself. Buddha's teaching leads us to non-duality, from the discriminating concept of two conflicting points of view. It is a mistake for people to seek a thing supposed to be good and right, and to flee from another supposed to be bad and evil. If people insist that all things are empty and transitory, it is just as great a mistake to insist that all things are real and do not change. If a person becomes attached to his ego personality, it is a mistake because it cannot save him from dissatisfaction or suffering. If he believes there is no ego, it is also a mistake, and it would be useless for him to practice the way of truth. If people assert that everything is suffering, it is also a mistake. If they assert that everything is happiness, that is a mistake too. Buddha teaches the middle way, transcending these prejudiced concepts, where duality merges into oneness.